We're live, Dr. Johnson.
We are live. Welcome, Crook County School District, Crook County friends, community. We are here in Crook County School District, snowy Friday afternoon, looking like true winter out there.
We needed some snow.
We've been in school another week, another good week, and exciting things happening next week. So next week, we have a round of vaccinations for teachers on Monday, and we're going to talk some more about next week. There's exciting things for teachers and kids.
We're
here this afternoon.
I don't want to, Dr. Johnson, I don't want to get people sidetracked because this was, I think, one of Jason Carr's fun facts of the day this week was whenever we talk about vaccination, the question comes, do teachers have to get vaccinated? Do students have to get vaccinated? And I want to, before the comments start ratcheting up, I want to make sure we address that and say that it is completely optional for our staff. And then also for, I think, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Moderna vaccine, the one that the Crook County Health Department has, you can't get it under 18. So no students are getting vaccinated. I know that's a big topic for a lot of people. So I wanted to get that out there before those Facebook comments started going.
All right.
Yes, Dr. Hoff, that is correct. Moderna is only recommended for 18 and older, and Pfizer is 16 and older. So not recommended for especially our little ones.
So who's with us today? We have, as we promised you last week, we have some updates on athletics. So we're going to have our guest, Marcus Hayes, representing the middle school, and we'll have the infamous Rob Bonner here talking about athletics in our district and maybe even in the upcoming seasons. So how has it been going, Dr. Hoff, with COVID in the county and COVID in the district?
If I'm hearing you correctly, Dr. Johnson, you're wanting one of my charts.
I think we have a real swift addition to the chart today. So
yeah, and we added a little bit to it. So let me just do a quick check. Dr. Johnson, can you see that chart in front of you?
It's clear. I see the chart.
All right, people are going to start getting mad at me because I keep adding lines, new data points to this, but I think this stuff is actually very interesting, and I think it really helps tell the story of what's going on. And like we've talked about, Dr. Johnson, being super transparent, or as transparent as we possibly can be with these numbers and the decisions we're making and how we're making them has been one of our top priorities. So we just want to continue that. So that's why every week we bring in an updated chart, and it just keeps growing with actually more data. So would you like me to go through it, or do you want to talk about some of the additions?
Well, I think we can talk about where the additions came from and why they're on there, and then you can explain the chart. But there's a difference between actually being tested positive and being quarantined. And we look at this chart and we see, as COVID surges in the community, that the number of students being quarantined goes up. We think that is actually a good sign. What that means to us is that we are catching it as it tries to come up in the school. And so when you see more people in the community experiencing COVID, then you should see more quarantines. And that's exactly what we've seen. So we, of course, have to thank our nurses for their contact tracing and the people that screen as students come in. But let's jump into the chart, Dr. Hoff.
Yeah, so what you'll see, this blue top line, that's the total number of positive cases in Crook County for the last 2 weeks. So they add together 2 weeks of positive cases, and that's that 144 number. You might ask, like, man, why is this thing popping up so quickly with such a dramatic curve? And a couple things we heard from the health department. There's been some bigger, large-scale drive-through testing clinics most recently in the last week, and they said they attribute the increase there, as well as a couple, I believe it was workplace outbreaks. So that's why you see this huge spike here. So that's that blue line, the total people in Crook County that have a positive case over the last 2 weeks from January 3rd to January 17th. This gray line is the number of students, Crook County students, that our nurses have said it's time to do a quarantine. So what that means, that doesn't mean there's 100 students with COVID. What that means is, out of an abundance of precaution, we have had that number of students shift to like a comprehensive distance learning model. So for, I think it's 7, 10, 14 days, those students shift and work at home. This is the new addition that I want to share. This green line we put in because this tells, kind of gives you a clear picture of, well, how many students actually have tested positive for COVID. And that's where this green line came in. So even though there's 100 students that are quarantined, that means they've maybe been exposed. They had a sibling that had it. They had a parent that had it. We only have 10 students over a 2-week period that actually have tested positive for COVID. And then finally,
sorry,
go
Dr.
ahead.
Hoff, some of those students have not tested, but they are presumed positive because they have interacted with somebody who has tested positive and then they had symptoms, but they haven't all tested. Just want to be accurate on that.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction. Yeah, so those are positives and presumptive positives, which was that scenario that Dr. Johnson just explained. And then finally, this orange line, these are the number of staff that are quarantined. So the number of Crook County School District staff during that 2-week window that were quarantined, we were at 3, which is a pretty low number. So we will continue to update this. And like we talked about, this is out of an abundance of transparency. We want folks to know the exact numbers and exact data that Dr. Johnson and I know. And we meet with the health department every Tuesday. We go over these numbers. We talk about concerns that we're seeing in the schools and where we can even add additional layers of safety. So this is that. Anything else on the chart, Dr. Johnson?
Well, I just think it's interesting to point out that the number of students being quarantined and the number of people in the community who, the cases in the community, that those patterns follow exactly. And that's what you would want to see. What you wouldn't want to see is that the positive number of students in the school is going up. And so you can look down, and we have actually had 10 students over the last 2 weeks who have been positive or presumptive positive, and you have seen that we have really been thoughtful in quarantining students. So that is to protect the teachers at school, the staff at school, and the other students at school. So we thank you for your patience as students get quarantined. That has to be done in order to make sure that we can keep our schools open, and that when students are healthy, they can come to school. And just a reminder that when you're at school, when a student is at school, they will be required to wear a mask, and we will abide by the social distancing. We will abide by the 35 square foot per student in the classroom. And next week, our students in 6th through 12th grade will be coming back to school for face-to-face instruction. So we're eager to enter that phase and to just be responsive and agile to that and see how that goes next week.
That was well put, Dr. Johnson. Thank you.
So I think one of the things we wanted to bring up today was that we are continuing, the health department is continuing to track the number of active cases in Crook County. And then the health department and the school district, we collaborate together. We talk on the phone or we talk face-to-face, and we assess the safety in the schools. And if it is still safe in the school, if we don't have clusters of outbreak, if we have, what are some of the other guidelines? I think we can't have any cluster outbreaks, and we have to be abiding by the blueprint. So
yeah, one of the big things is there's, and the health department calls it like a contained cluster or an uncontained cluster. So for example, if a student, their parent gets COVID at a weekend barbecue, they start to get sick. That's a contained, they can quarantine those people. That's a contained, they know where the source is. They kind of put put borders around it as the kids aren't coming to school. That's what they call contained. An uncontained is if someone just starts feeling sick and has to go to the hospital and they don't know where it came from. That's an uncontained, and that's a little more. Those are a little more worrisome because they don't know where it came from. So what the exposure was. So the contained versus the uncontained is a very big deal in terms of looking at whether to shift cohorts to comprehensive distance learning or not.
And the thing that we're so pleased about, and we're still amazed about, is that we have not had outbreaks in the school. And I have to give a lot of credit to people following the guidelines, and then also to parents for responding to quarantine when they're asked. And it really is keeping our school safe. And I want to thank Crystal and Cheryl for your kind words on Facebook Live. We really are pleased to be able to serve this community and to try to meet the needs and to just be responsive. So yeah.
I think
let's see. So I think one of the things we wanted to cover today was that we are in a phase in this state where local school districts should be collaborating with their local health department about staying open. And we have been doing that for a long period of time. So we have those relationships and communication channels in place. And then, of course, next Monday, we have an opportunity for our teachers to be vaccinated before we actually are in the full-time face-to-face mode again. And I think we have about, what do we have signed up? How many people do we have signed up for vaccinations?
270, give or take one or two. A few people got in. The health department actually allowed a few teachers in early that were working with high-risk, fragile students. So a few of our folks that were signed up actually have already gotten it. So we're right around 270.
And we had a lot of staff that were interested in getting that vaccination before we entered this next phase. So I'm very grateful and pleased that that's rolling out Monday. And then, of course, the big news today is an update on athletics. I think what we'll do is we will start with our high school athletic director, and actually Rob oversees a lot of activities around the district, and we think the world of Rob Bonner. He is definitely sitting there with his flag in the background and his cool office, and we are excited to welcome you on tonight, Rob.
Thank you very much. In this time of COVID uncertainty, I get to add to that just a hair. We're waiting on OHA guidance and, guidance from the governor. Not a lot's changed. We're still following the extreme risk matrix that we're in. Therefore, we're not indoors. Good news is we have our fall sports schedules teed up and ready to go. Last few days, we've just put together, which we're way behind. Typically, we have next year's schedules already done. Now we're just getting our schedules around for these fall sports. But we've got a full schedule for football, volleyball, cross country, and soccer. I don't know yet if we're going to be able to do those things. It's looking real positive for soccer and cross country. I'm just not sure yet about volleyball and football due to the indoor, no use facilities and the extreme contact of football. So we're still waiting on those things. But because we don't know yet, then maybe there's some positive things coming down that we're hoping for some positive information from OHA.
One of our goals is to get those athletics back up and going as soon as it's safe. That's a big part of what our young people look forward to, and it's a big part of what they enjoy at school. So we're eager for that to happen.
Well, and the good news, real
about
quick,
the sport court?
Yeah, the good news is I was just going to say, regardless if we have, a typical OSAA season, and athletics as we know it, we're going to have something. So, we're going to have that 7-on-7 football if that's what we're left with. We're going to continue to offer opportunities for kids. And one of those opportunities, right now is in the way of that sports court that's set up down at the fairgrounds. Really, really thankful for the fairgrounds in this community and the district for supporting that. We have a lot of kids and coaches down there working out of all ages, shooting drills, wearing masks, social distancing. And we're really thankful because if we didn't have that, we would not be shooting around because we can't be indoors. So really thankful to have that and as a resource. And dance is starting to use that on Sundays. So really excited for them to get out, and it's kind of a neat environment. I think people will definitely be ready to move indoors, but it's a blessing to have it now.
One of the things that they were talking about on the superintendent's calls this week were about students having class outdoors and how that would be safer. And I couldn't help but think about our sport court and how that's actually opened up some opportunities for kids. So it's pretty safe, I think, when the air is flowing like that. And who knows, maybe we'll find a use for classroom instruction in there.
Maybe it's brisk. It's been it's been single digits sometimes, and those foggy mornings, where you couldn't see across the parking lot, and the kids are out there and shooting around, and they had smiles on their faces, which I just couldn't believe. 8 in the morning, and they're out there smiling and loving it, which shows how important it is to offer those experiences.
I've heard about the icicles hanging from their noses and hanging from their hair. And
yeah, they were smiling. It's great.
That's awesome. Okay, Mr. Bonner, anything else?
That's it. Hopefully we're going to hear something this week. If we don't, then as soon as we hear something, I'll definitely get it out on a mass scale with Mr. Carr and the district. So.
Okay, and we'll have you back on here if there's anything new.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move to, I'm looking at Dr. Hoff, and he looks like he's eager to say something.
Yeah, I'm just always happy to see Rob, just
I know,
just to
right?
get him to join us. I
Nice to
think
see you.
I think that whole sports court thing was just such a cool example of kind of the attitude that I think Rob, you and the school district and our community have embodied, where I think it was Les Schwab shipped them over for free. The county kind of said, yeah, you can do this here, and it's been cool to see. It's all about the kids, and it's people coming together just to give opportunities for students. So
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
So when the fairgrounds gets ready to use that tent, we would love to have another tent to put that court under. So if anybody knows of a tent that somebody would be eager to either loan or give the school district, we would certainly be willing to collaborate on that. All right, I'm going to go to Marcus Hayes, and he's going to talk about the middle school athletics.
Yeah, and as Mr. Hoff said, everyone's always excited to see Mr. Bonner, so I don't know how excited I am to follow.
Oh, we're excited to see you, Marcus. Come on.
So
Marcus, we are.
I similar to Coach Bonner, we don't have a ton of updates. What I can update on the middle school athletics is that similar to the high school, we have been working at getting a schedule together that starting February 22nd, our fall sports will start. So we're looking football, volleyball, and cross country. And like Bonner said, the idea of that high risk category, that changes things with those indoor sports. So volleyball, and then the next season with kind of differs from the high school and OSAA is that April to May, we'll be looking at track and boys basketball. And then May to June, we'll be looking at wrestling and girls basketball. And the middle school have to split up the basketball sports a little bit more and differently just because of the limit of gym space. And then so many of the middle schools around the region have the same coaches coach boys and girls basketball. So that's always something that's been talked about amongst the athletic directors in the region. And at this point, we have the okay from the districts with middle schools is Sisters, Jefferson County, and Culver are all ready to go. If the state and the metrics line up, we'll be having competition with those teams. The Redmond schools are still working on a few things, but those 3 communities are ready to go as soon as we get the okay and start this, hopefully this next month, get going with middle school sports.
Fun. That's great. Anything else on that, Marcus? All
At this
right.
point, no, hopefully we have more this next month. We'll kind of talk about signups and all those other fun things to actually get it going.
Okay. Very good. We have a question from Judy. And Judy, the question is, how much consideration was given to having staff vaccinated prior to in-person learning? So I'm going to say the measurement of how much consideration was given is pretty high. We had our health department advocate for that vaccination experience. We started planning it early actually started talking about it even before January, but started planning it very early. There's 2 organizations joining together, our local health department as well as Mosaic Medical, and their medically trained people will be administering those vaccinations. And we worked really hard to get this date before students came in. The end of the quarter actually was this week, and then the beginning of the quarter is next week. So those 2 things collided, and just thankfully we were able to get that vaccination drive on Monday. So I feel very happy that staff will have a chance to get that vaccination. So yeah, Judy, we were really trying to get that, and thanks to the collaboration with the health department, it's going to be here Monday.
Dr. Johnson, I got to do a
Yes.
shout out. Muriel, the head of the Crook County Health Department, she worked miracles to make it happen. And she's like a modern day hero in my view, because she, the announcement came out from the governor, like federal supply was low. And Meredith said, I'm going to make this happen for Crook County.
I think she had to call in a lot of her favors.
I think she had
She
some
spent
favors
it.
built up that she called in, and she did it so that we could keep schools going, keep our teachers safe. And we are so lucky for, Muriel and Katie Plum.
Katie, our nurses.
And Megan McFedrich, Wendy Perrin, there are so many people that have just come together to make it happen. And it's just been amazing to see and be a part of. So we are so thankful to the collaboration with the health department, Mosaic Medical, and everyone just kind of stepping up to say, let's figure out how to get this done. So that's been really cool to see.
And then Monday is actually a teacher work day, right? It's a grading day. And so there's no students in the building, and that was a good day to set up the clinic so that it's set up at the high school, and there's space there and room for people to come in for that. So, all right, Dr. Hoff, we have
I got more
space for
shout outs.
questions.
Do you want some more shout outs? I've got some
Let's
people.
do some, yeah.
I've got some people I'm thankful for that I just want to share. Classified staff, all the people that just continue to keep our schools clean. It's just absolutely insane, the work and the lengths that they've gone to do that. So that's shout out number 1.
Okay, and I have to throw something else right in there. So I got to work today. Leland Bliss was here and planning to address this snow. As I was driving down 3rd Street today, I saw one of our building engineers out there at Steen's Pillar shoveling that snow, making sure those sidewalks are clear and safe for students and parents. So people work very hard to make our schools good, to make our grounds good, to make our buildings good. So we are grateful to a lot of people.
Yeah. My second shout out was to our teaching staff, our teaching union. We could not be where we're at without them right now, the association. So
yes,
they have been, they have been hand in hand this whole way, helping out, working on solutions, and really trying to get kids the best experience possible. So we're
I think it's important to say that it's hard to be out front. It's scary. But they are willing to do it because of the value that this community puts on it. So I do think it's important. And, we have a day designated coming up in the near future where we are inviting people to do any kind of a thank you and love your staff and teacher celebration. There's going to be a community celebration. The school district will be celebrating. And it's the Friday before Valentine's Day. So February, Jason Carr, I don't want to get the date wrong.
It's a
14th
week.
is
It's
Monday,
a week long,
13th.
right?
Yeah, it's the weekend before Valentine's.
Okay, weekend before Valentine's, all
So
right?
it's Friday the 12th. So we'll do
Friday
some
the
stuff-
12th.
We'll do some
If
stuff
you
starting
want
then.
to send a thank you note on that day or a very kind appreciation note to somebody on that school staff, that's the day that's going to be designated around the community to thank them for what they have done for our children, for our community. And I'm excited about that day.
And how that, it's kind of an interesting story how that came to be, how we planned, where it was like, there was like some school district staff that were just like, man, we got to do something for our teachers and our staff. And then like coincidentally at the same time, like I think some community member people like contacted the district and were like, hey, we want to do something special for your teachers like and staff. Do you want to plan that? So it was like, it clearly like there was just something out in the universe that was like, we need to thank our people because they've done an unbelievable job at helping the community and helping the school district. So kind of cool how that came together.
It is. Well, I'm sitting here waiting for questions to come in. Did you know, Dr. Hoff, that next week is the last week of January?
Goes quick. I'm telling you,
it goes by so quickly.
as a teacher and as administrator, like it seems like when you start the school year, it's like September, October, November kind of take a while to get to winter break. And then you hit winter break and you blink and it's spring break and then you blink again and the school year is done. So we're in that like
Yep.
accelerated time, I feel.
Groundhog Day. It's all downhill after Groundhog Day. Days are getting longer.
Which a fun fact for our loyal listeners and viewers, Groundhog Day is Dr. Johnson's favorite holiday, right?
Yes, I do. And I get, like some people get presents on Christmas. I get presents on Groundhog Day.
You get a lot
Yeah.
of random like groundhog figurines
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right. Well, we won't keep you on. I think we've delivered the message and it is Friday afternoon. And so we wish you, oh gosh, I bet there's going to be some fun sledding this weekend.
My kids were losing their mind this morning.
Stay safe, everybody. Don't break any arms. Don't sprain any ankles or anything because next week it's full on school.
Second semester.
Have a great
Third quarter. We don't do semesters.
That's right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.